Next meeting, forget it.
Okay, today's November 7th, 2022. It is 2 p.m. I called this meeting, Fresh Waterways Advisory Board, to order. Okay, and we'll do roll call. So we've got Phyllis and John and Grant and Joe and Greg. Me, all members, awesome. And then let's see, we also have Eric Noble, City Council Liaison. Sarah Logan, City Clerk. Thank you, Sarah, as always. Bruce Malloy, Fresh Waterways Corporation President. And let's see here, for visitors, we have Jim Golden and Nani Bacon. And Don Carnes. And let's see. Who do we have online? Jeff's iPad. Jeff's iPad. First and last name, please, Jeff. Anybody know who Jeff is? Jeff Grill. Who? Jeff Grill, like barbecue grill. And Vita Piera. You know the person? Yes.
Yeah, that is my first name. Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
And nobody else, right?
That's phone number 7461.
Oh. Is that Bob and Carol? 746. Yeah, no. 7461.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Bob. That's Bob Rose. Bob and Carol, can you hear? Okay, all right. All right, so ain't nobody else, right? Just those three people who are zooming in. Okay. All right, minutes. Approval of minutes from the October 3rd, 2022 meeting. I sent those out to everybody on October 17th. Any board members have any additions, corrections, amendments to the minutes? No, okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written? John and Grant, second. All those in favor, aye. 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 Okay. All right, public comment. So as usual, please keep your comment to the 3 minutes, so that way we can keep moving on with this meeting, okay? All right, so we'll start with Jim. I have none. Nani,
I have none.
John. I have none. Vita Piera, do you have any public comment?
No, I do not. Thank you.
And Jeff Grill, do you have any public comment? All right, Bob and Carol, do either of you have a public comment?
Yes, I want to thank you for all your dedicated hard work, Steve.
Anything else?
Not at this time.
Carol, do you have anything?
No, she's just listening.
Just listening, aye. Okay. All right, so next we have Fresh Waterways Corporation report by Bruce Malloy. I just want to explain this real quick. Is for years, the Fresh Waterways Corporation report had always been on the agenda. And then during COVID, the Fresh Waterways Corporation went into a bit of a hiatus. And so instead of just asking and there was nothing to report, I removed it. Now the corporation is back and just had meetings and rip roaring, ready to go. So they're back on the agenda for good. All right, Bruce.
It's good to be back. Of course, it's winter time, it's quiet, but we got a few things we're working on. John Pike and myself are gonna go visit a resident who thinks a tree is in danger of falling on our house. We're gonna take a look, and based on what we see, we'll kick it to the city because it's a neighbor's lot that you can't get a hold of. I know there's some weirdness that goes on when you want to cut your neighbor's tree and blah, blah. Anyway, we'll take a look at that. We're gonna go to a new methodology for the corporation. We're gonna do things using project manager methodology where, for example, John is working on safer, lighter tools for the workloads, and he is gonna project manage that event and everything about tools and safe tools and that type of thing. Grant is project managing a davit for the workboat #2. He's going to retrofit that boat, the Harvester, that'll have a davit. We'll use that to set the speed limit buoys in place. Pick them up, throw them in my pickup truck, drive them over to a boat ramp and put 4 or 5 of them on there and lower them into the water in correct position without blowing your back out. Phyllis is working on this assignment on getting all of our test equipment in one place. And that's about it. It's again, it's quiet, but there's some stuff going on. That's all.
Well, thank you, Bruce. And you said it was a project management style.
Yes.
So each
Yeah.
member is having something different to do, and then
Yes.
will you report that, these meetings, so we can be up to speed?
We'll do that, keep you up, and it's to eliminate this, or like what you were doing, but you will be in contact with them, so that person will be
Okay,
fine.
okay. Well, so really quick, just on this, Sarah, last that we knew about this the water test equipment was that it had been placed in order in August. Do you happen to know if it's?
No, Eric just asked me and I was gonna ask you if Robert had done it to you, so let me find out.
I remember Robert saying something when Phyllis asked me. I went and I looked in all my emails, and I think it was Robert and I having a discussion on the phone.
Okay,
So,
I will ask.
I just, normally I make good notes of these phone calls, and I don't know why I didn't do that.
I thought it had gone to procurement.
I actually know that the algae machine, because Marshall has used it a few times this last year for the algae machine. That was a quite the expensive one.
Yeah, so that one got away.
Yeah, and I know that they were going to order a lot more testers that they needed for that, so. Yeah,
It might be with Marshall,
yeah.
because he said I'm going to get it, so
Okay.
he's on vacation, but I'll send an email right now.
All right, okay.
This will remind me. Yeah.
Okay, hey, you're gonna send an email?
I will.
You just CC me on that? All right, thank you so much. All righty, so, we'll go ahead and go into old business, weed management for 2022. So we would think by now that, we would have this wrapped up, and this is the final report that normally would be wine and weed. Good news to report, Doug did send that final report to me. He sent it to myself and Robert Lund, which does the city no good. So I gave him a quick education on that. So what I had asked Sarah when she first came in was if the mayor had anything on the December city chat, anything on the agenda. So the answer to that was no. If everybody's cool with that, what I can do is reach out to Doug. I'll do that today. Make sure that he is available to come out here and do that presentation. That would normally be at the wine and weed, but it won't be that. And he can do that full presentation in person, not out on Zoom. How do you guys feel about that? So it'd be at the December mayor city chat, which the mayor's there, I believe Scott Anderson, the city administrator is there. And then they seem to garner a lot of residents, so I think that that would be a
I think it
good.
would pull in more of an audience, which is what we need.
And then, of course, I'm sure I can rely on you good folks to spread that word as well, right? Okay, and Bruce, you could be there as well? All right, okay. So it would be, I would imagine how we would do this, Sarah, is that it would be his show, not ours or the corporation. It wouldn't be a wine and weeds or anything like that. It would be him coming out to do a presentation and that's it. No, okay. All right.
It could really look at.
Yeah, 'cause you could use that as a public, here, also as public input and everything. That's what we did at the last one with the North Bay Park.
Yeah.
And because that was in the public.
The only reason why I say that, Eric, is because really quickly, we're going to get into the IABMP public
Right,
hearing.
right.
And I might be able maybe to squeeze the January city chat. If the mayor would be okay with actually kind of cool. No way to do both of those.
Right, right.
Because standalone, each of them is probably 90 to 2 hours, right? 90 minutes to 2 hours each.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that's what I was planning on. And we'll talk about the IVP. That's actually a good segue. Is everybody okay with doing that with the weed report? Okay. And what I'll do is when I get home, I'll send that report to all of you so you guys can all see it, okay? All right, now the great segue to the IABMP is we had, what day was that? Last Wednesday. Well, yeah, okay. And we had the IABMP steering committee, which actually all of us, Joe wasn't there, Nani, you weren't there, everybody, and Eric, everybody else was, right? So I think it was a really good steering committee with great input. And I think it'll move forward well. The next step is that Terry McNabb needs to send that product that he's going to present to me, and I'm gonna review it, and Phyllis, if you're okay, I'll send it to you, so just you and I can look over it and dot some i's and cross some t's and all that, and we get it right back to him, and then he'll be ready to do a full presentation to the resident and then get their input. Okay, so that's where we are right now with the IABMP. You guys have anything you wanted to add on IABMP? Okay, Joe, just so you know, is that I think I know that the point was clearly made that there was residents who did not desire to put herbicides as part of the weed management. Okay, all the other board members here, and then at the very end of a particular conversation, I really stressed that, all right? So I tried to get your
I was kind of
your
out of it
opinion.
for a while.
I knew you couldn't make it.
I was looking for,
So, all righty. All right, so the next is the lake management study. Now, with the lake management study, the most that I can really say right now is that I know that the 165,000 is placed aside for us to do that. And that I believe that it is with a project manager that the city has hired to do projects.
They're interviewing today for a project manager.
Robert sent this email to this.
Anne Reese.
Yes, that's it. All right. And so I really didn't, because I haven't heard from her, so I didn't know what, I really don't know who that person is.
She's with Rock Management. She's a project manager. She currently was the project manager for Oytut Ditch and will probably be doing a lot of the hiking trail. She took over the project management for the golf course, phase 2.
Okay,
She's excellent.
okay,
So she'll be working with us.
all right. Because
Even
I know
once we hire.
Robert, literally, I think almost like the day before he left, he sent her something. And that Bruce and I had looked at and it said, hey, if there's questions, reach out to these folks. I haven't heard anything from her, so this is a person I can reach out to, and that's okay. All right, I'll do that. So in the lake management study, I'll just reach out just to see if she's got it in a placeholder or where it is, but good news is the money is set there for the lake management study.
that also is for the storm water, they're together. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, so I was
there's-
just gonna ask
Yeah,
that.
they're separate reports, but that 165 is the final vote.
Yeah, so, well, that, again, that's a good segue into the stormwater master plan, but does anyone have anything about the lake management? No, okay. I haven't even seen an RFQ or anything like that, so, if I see anything like that, it absolutely will immediately go to everybody here, okay? So the stormwater master plan, I got a little confused on the email that Robert sent to Anne, because he did them in two separate things, and it seemed to me, and it could, maybe it's just the way that it was written, but that there was a separate
They're
money for the stormwater master plan. So both of those plans are in the same fund.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what they come in at, because
Okay.
we're now going into the second year,
Mhm.
you know, so there's money. If it needs to be allocated for that, we probably could, you
Okay,
know, so I mean, the 165 was, you know, a placeholder to see what they were gonna do. And I
Right.
think the stormwater is already in process. because
Yes,
That was much
yes.
easier, but that's anywhere from, you know, 1 to 3 years to get that done. So it's gonna take a while. And then I know that lake management was, you know, they wanted to get the project manager, the new person, get all
Okay.
your input before it went out to bid. But I know that there's environmentalists that can do it, so.
okay, yeah.
It's just
Well,
the-
Robert and I, we had talked about Herrera, you know,
Yeah,
and then I looked at some of their work and some of the things that they did even out in this area, and it looked like it was a great,
Yeah.
project.
They just need a scope, and I think that would come from this group, you know, on exactly what you want that to look like.
Right, because I know steering committee is part of it, and so we would put that together to decide how we did the IA.
And I know there was some concern over both of those, you know, the IABMP and that I heard from a couple of citizens that, you
Mhm.
know, they're doubling up on each other, but they're not, they mesh together to make one report. So I just keep trying to clarify that to people that they are two separate reports, but they'll work together. So we're not paying for one and then gonna pay for it again. So
That's right, yeah, absolutely. And there will also be, I have a few names that I'm gonna ask to be part of the lake management study. They're from the weeds, and more members. The lake management study will encompass so much more. I mean, the weeds is just like this
Right,
key
right.
part of it. So when we get to that point, we'll definitely be doing a lot more talking. And I know that, you know, next meeting will probably be your last, Eric, because it only goes for a year, right? The city.
yeah, it
council.
depends on what John chooses to do.
I was gonna say, if you're not on here, I still planned on keeping you in the loop because I know that freshwater waves is
Yeah,
near
yeah.
and dear to you. So,
If I ask John, he probably.
okay.
I don't know, you guys have to be nice, that's all.
Okay. Stormwater master plan. Does anybody have anything to add with that? Any discussion? No?
It's just gonna take a while, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
as long as we're working on it, that's the key.
yeah, Robert said the last one was done in like 95, so there's a lot of foundational work that was already done,
Mhm.
but it's a pretty extensive plan to go through the whole thing.
Yes, yes. Okay, and I hope that we actually have we have some input into that as well. But I'll talk to Marshall about that.
It all comes together.
It's Marshall Learning.
Well, I think he's going to. It's under his purview with the city plan, my understanding. That really wasn't Robert, it was Marshall, so. Alrighty, so, okay, next, this is for new business, board membership. So here we are to get our 7th board member. And so I'm excited to present John Carnes. I sent the application to all of you, and John is present here at this meeting. He has come to a couple of our other advisory board meetings in the past via Zoom, and also a hard worker on the Freshwater Waste Corporation side. We're doing the working parties, and he was also on the last IABMP steering committee. So, does anybody have anything to discuss, or do you have any questions you want to ask, or anything ready to go? Yeah, ready to vote. Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any nay? No? See, I told you, Tommy.
You're in.
So now what we'll do is I will, actually Sarah already has this, but I'll send it to you officially.
Yeah.
But I'll send it to Sarah, the city clerk. She gets it before city council. City council has to approve that. And then Sarah will contact you, you get sworn in. Okay. But from, obviously, as I have in the past, I'll keep in the loop on any emails that I send out. Okay. All righty, okay, so board meetings for next year. So we don't have any confusion, okay? There are 2 months in 2023 where the first Monday falls on a holiday. So while this room is available on those days, I'm sure people don't want to come in on New Year's Day. And you probably don't want to come in on Labor Day, right? So I talked with Michelle here at the library, and she has penciled this in for the 3rd Monday on each of those months. So it would be January 23rd, and it would be September 18th.
The second Monday is already booked.
Fully, the rooms, yeah, this room is booked, and it was way too much of a fiasco to go and try to find something for the IAVMP. So thank goodness to Phyllis, she found us a room, so thank you, Phyllis, for doing that. So, but yeah, this room is fully booked, literally, there's meetings, a couple on each one of those.
Well, we have no choice.
Okay, any discussion, anybody, how do you feel?
If you're in a jam, call the Lions Club. It's a louder room.
Well, the issue with these two is that the Monday falls on a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I figured if we just kind of make it easy and keep it here
Yeah.
at this meeting. And then at this meeting place and just do both of those at the 3rd Monday. Then, does that work for everybody?
Yep.
All right, because Joe, you're off on Mondays.
I'm off on Monday. They're trying to change my schedule, so, but I'm gonna take those days off for the meeting.
Okay, all right, so it would be January 23rd, September 18th, all the other ones is the first Monday, okay? Great, you think you could squeeze in that?
Yeah, I generally have Mondays off in here, unless something special is going on.
All right, and John, you can swing it?
Oh, yeah.
You were tired. Got nothing
I'm
to do,
retired.
right? Go with the flow. All righty, so I will send an email to Michelle. I'll get those confirmed, and I'll also send that email out. Well, I'll just CC you on the email that I sent to Michelle, so you can put that on your calendars for the year. All right, well, that was easy, wasn't it? Okay, all right, now list of priorities. So list of priorities, I just couldn't finish it. Last week I had something that completely sort of derailed all my plans and whatnot, so, I didn't get an opportunity to get to it. I will finish it up and I will send that out to everybody, okay? And so at our December meeting, the meeting will be about the list of priorities. So if you guys could look over that, and I'll make sure that I send that to you, John. And I've noted on there, things that are completed and other things like that, okay? And then that'll be the only thing that I have on there as new business, and then we can have a good lengthy discussion about them as a whole or individually, however you guys want to do that. Does that sound good? Everybody's fine? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna go to good of the order. Then we'll start with Phyllis. We've got a box.
I have a box. This is our old water testing machine. It's outdated. We have, Bruce and Lisa have done a lot of research on getting the system updated, and it's not available. And it is hard to program. It's over 10 years old. It's outdated, and that is why we wanted a new one purchased. And I was gonna give this to Marshall, but I'll give it to you to give to Marshall so that he can see what we had before. And it has the model number, the box and everything. And we had recommended an updated one that was emailed couple of years ago to Nick.
think
That was
that-
better purchase.
This is the one that Sarah was talking about.
Yes. Yes, that need to find out if it was purchased
And I sent.
but this is the old one, but I thought, you know, he needs to have this back.
Okay.
City property. We were just far away. And then, I forgot to bring it, but the HIPAA report, our permit for clearing of trees is coming due in August.
The HPA permit.
The HPA is coming due in August, so it's a 5-year permit, but we need to start. Who's gonna work on it to get it approved for another 5 years?
Now,
I
last
know
time
it's
it was,
August.
it was Alicia, right?
Alicia did it
Yeah.
last
So,
time,
which means Marshall.
Yeah,
yeah, but just so we know that it is on
yeah.
the
Don't want it to
upcoming
fall
list.
through the cracks and
Exactly, we can't,
taking
yeah.
trees down like other fall.
And then,
I'll send them analysis.
yeah, and then with that, there, when we are clearing anybody, any citizen is doing any work out there on the waterways, on their property, you are supposed to have this pamphlet. It's aquatic plants and fish there with you, and even the corporation is supposed to have it with us when we're out there doing our work too. This is dated 2015. I've spent a lot of time several years ago trying to get an updated, a printed version in pamphlet form, which is what Bob Rose gave to you. The first edition, which is replaced with this. These are not available for publication anymore. They are out there, you can print them. But I have not been able to find anything more current than this 2015 to use. I'm still working on that. Okay. That's what I've been doing.
Well, we have a contact with Fish and Wildlife, the people who came into the presentation here. You want me to give you their information? Therefore, this area. Maybe they can guide it in the right direction if there is an updated one, because that is the most up to date.
Yeah, we have, I have the phone number of the original person that we talked to that helped us with it. I have not called him, but in all of the things that feed back to, when you click on all the links and takes you to it, it does give you a contact person. And I'm gonna call them because it's been several years. And I think we've had a change of staffing and everything, and people going. But it does, I mean, you can go, it's like you click, you go to one link and it clicks you, and it takes you back to another, and then there's another link in there, and you click anyway. It's a vicious circle that's going around, and Fish and Wildlife information website has been updated since this is even.
So that's 2015 that was published. So we know there's another permit in between.
No, but this is just the booklet.
Yeah.
There,
Oh,
no,
it's not
there,
the permit, it's just.
no, it's not the permit. This is just the booklet that you're supposed to
But
have.
that's the de facto permit for homeowners to take care of their document. They
It
have
is your
to have
permit.
that permit.
Yeah. Yes, this is their permit to do it, you know. And, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. We, Steve, you and I need to talk with Sarah Hassan about grants. We were told that you had to have,
Now, it's ready for public disclosure. We're waiting to hear back.
no, this is nothing to do with that.
Okay,
Nothing to do with that. We were told that we couldn't get our parents feather treatment grant because we didn't have reports to IVMUP. We were told that's not true. So we need to get our grants. and find out what's available. And I'm reading in all my research here, it says that grants are available for the waterways. So we need to look at what grants we can get for the city. Because I mean, it's like, that was one of the links that kept taking me to was grants. Grants, and it said, grants are available. So we need to look into what grants are out there.
Okay.
Nobody's looking at it.
2015 is the last update.
Yes,
There is no more.
there is no more. But I don't know if it's been replaced with something else.
Well, I have the downloadable document here.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
that's all I could find. And as I said, I just kept taking me to more links and everything, referring me back to this. And I even went out to the state of Washington, and they say that you're supposed to use it. And it ties you back to this document here. But then again, the first original one was dated in 98. And then they updated it in 2015. So we're maybe not due for another third edition yet. I don't know how often they do it.
So I can send an email to Sarah and see if she's got a time available for you and I to sit down. First, what I want to do is I want to go through my emails and see if where there's that email, if I even have it. Just because a lot of these things are done on phone conversations. But if I have an email from Nick or Sarah that was talking specifically 2 years ago when we got rejected on the parent of it.
I don't believe, well, I don't know if you got an email on it. It was discussed in a meeting.
It was, yes.
And
Yeah.
so it's on Zoom.
Yes.
Out there somewhere.
Yeah, I guess it.
But, yeah, I mean, we could go
But
back. to-
if I recall, it was not, I didn't hear anything from Sarah. It was just through the public works that I heard something.
That's,
I just kind of wanted to get my facts straight. you
Right.
know, Yeah.
yeah, so,
Well, let me put this
but
down.
anyway, it's like, it's something that needs.
Triple
that we
asterisk
need
things
to,
to do.
I'm done.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, John.
Yeah. On the topic of misinformation, and I don't know if this is a good of the order or my bad of the order. But things hit Facebook, and one of them that recently hit Facebook is the city has budgeted $160,000 for someone to manage the waterways. When in fact, that is for the storm water management, in case people don't understand. I don't know how this stuff gets out there and how more than a few times it's been misconstrued. But
Facebook.
we are on a giant surface water plain here. All the vacant lots, all the streets, all of that flow into the waterways. A storm water manager is not just going to be focusing on the waterways. He is not a waterways manager. He or she is not a waterways manager. They're looking at the city as a whole. And I wish people would start getting their information correct before it hits Facebook, the end.
So the official part of that is there is no position has been set up for anything. The only thing we did was put the money there, which is being put into the stormwater fund balance, but there is no position that has been approved for anything at this point. We're waiting for the lake management study to come through, and that should help us decide what it is we need to fund. But there is no position, there's no job description for any position that has been put out there for anything, just the money is set aside for something.
It has not been funded.
It's funded, but
Well,
it's
I
not
mean,
funded.
the position has not been funded.
Right, there is no position.
This is
It's
down to
money set aside.
1978.
It's
So
not-
if everybody remembers, and this is why I said this at a meeting months ago to try to suppress this nonsense, was when I said, when the time is right, we will work with the city HR manager to come up with a position from the Fresh Waterways Advisory Board perspective and give that to the city. Then the city can decide what they want to do with that. But this all goes back to, so I'll say this, we're on Zoom. People go to other meetings, everything is in this room. So when this first came when I first started talking with Nick Bird about this was over 2 years ago. And it was about increasing the storm utility fee. So not just so that we could fund a position, but also try to get more funding so that the waterways, the storm drain utility system with the culverts, the ditches, had more money to do some projects. Nowhere in there, and I was sitting in the room when Nick Bird presented this to council, is that was it 165 whatever thousand was going to be solely as a person. It was about doing a position and about getting more funding for the system as a whole. I'm sure he said Fresh Waterways, I'm trying to remember now, but I know that he kept hitting home about storm drain utility maintenance and management, right? So, which is, then I started building the agendas based off of him and I having these discussions completely offline, and started building the agenda where we talked about what would we do, the city needs to do more, all of these different ideas, trying to come up with how much money that would be, and trying to move everybody in that direction, okay? So I would say, and I hear your frustration, John. As a matter of fact, today I'm probably almost Facebook free, or I should say as of yesterday, I'm almost completely gone off of that disaster. Definitely program. But the point that I'm trying to make with that is if there is anybody, and please pass the word out to all residents. If anyone has any questions about the waterways and what the city is doing, then either they should go directly to a city council person, or they should come here in this board and make a comment. And afterwards, I'm always available, and so are the other members, to accept questions from residents. But to go out and just berate the city on Facebook or any other means on what is going on and what money is to be used for is, it's absolutely not helpful. And it does not help us going in the direction of trying to get more money, whether it's out of a storm drain utility fee, whether it's requesting council provide any extra money out of general fund or anything. All right, so, but I gotta tell you, John, you gotta get off Facebook. I mean, I gotta tell you.
I have said this before when you told me to quit. We live in a small community here, and unfortunately, Facebook is highly used, especially by those that like to spread disinformation.
That's right.
My goal, because this group that sits here, the group that sits at Winston's house, the people, our groups that love our waterways and support those that try to do right by the waterways. I will not sit by and let somebody trash the waterways or either one of these groups. I will not sit silently.
I mean, I hear you, I do, but at some time you gotta have some sort of peace, right? And that's why I'm here.
A fifth of all.
Well, that's a different conversation. Yeah, that's a different conversation. But, that is why, I really do. In the beginning, I was not a Zoom lover. I actually think I called it Zillow for a long time. Maybe that's when I was in sell property or whatnot. But at any rate, but I've grown to understand that it is a great tool because all of the residents, even those who just buy a home, sold today, you got your keys, you moved in, you live on the water, and you want to know everything about the waterways, go to osgov.com, Freshwaterways Advisory Board, all the agendas are there. Thank you, Sarah. All the minutes and every single meeting that we've had on Zoom. They can educate themselves. They can hear it come directly out of whether it's advisory board or city employees or a city council person who is giving the factual information and not some scuttlebutt, maybe term, on the Facebook. Okay, so there we go. We good?
And I just, real quickly, what Phyllis had here from Fish and Wildlife, when we had our last work party, there was a lady that asked me about removing aquatic plants around her dock and in front of her property. And she had been told that that cannot be done. Okay, she was told that all plants had to remain. This is the stuff that floats around about our waterways in this town, that people are offering opinions, ideas, thoughts, and answers, and they don't know what they're talking about. Now I'm done.
Okay, Grant. Let me guess, grass carp.
No,
No?
well, I just brought up some old articles. Most of the people here, actually, only two people here have firsthand experience with weed harvesters. And so I got some live pictures of our old harvester at work, fully dressed. And even show the way we transport the weeds to shore. It just takes a little boat.
Mhm.
And the driver of the boat is one and only Robert Rhodes.
Mhm.
And so he's got about a 7 horsepower motor on the back. And when he hooks onto that, they don't have to shut down the weed harvester. It just keeps going. And so all the time going back to shore, back out, and the bags are reused. And so it's a pretty cool thing. And there's some weak spots that need to be overcome before it be used again, but it could be used for algae, it could be used for Eladia, which it was. We got over 100 bags in one season of Eladia. These bags are 6 by 12 feet long. And so a huge amount of Eladia, and it's trapped from the time it's cut. So it can't get away. It's not like a routine thrasher that thrashes everything everywhere and throws it everywhere. It's trapped the minute it's cut. And so, and it's designed for a one-man operation. It is slick. And that, if you're curious, take a look at it. And it's really a great machine. And we built it for 30,000. And we researched harvesters, used ones, and they were like 200 grand for a used one that was tired, needed maintenance. And so I built this on the premise that it would be one-man operation, simple. You don't lift anything out of the water because that's where your mechanical stuff becomes a nightmare. And so we have a simple paddle wheel. That's it. The cutters are German sickle bars. They're double sickle. So they don't sit there and shake the living daylights out of the boat. So they're double sickle. There's no vibration, very little. And so, but anyway.
Yeah.
You can see the articles. We have, even have a John Deere lawnmower here to look at. We have 4 loons on it too. Some of you guys might remember that. That's when we're out collecting limbs and debris out of the water. But it was a big project and we had a lot of fun with it. Good lot of work. So anyway, but everyone's getting too old.
Yeah,
Okay,
old and tore up.
All righty, Joe.
Piggybacking on what you were saying, Phyllis, about someone over at Fish and Wildlife. The lady's name that actually manages this out here now is Peasley.
I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
got her name, last name is Peasley. I got
Yeah,
her
that-
phone number and everything for you if you ever want to contact her.
Yeah, why don't you get that? to
Okay, I'll
me?
get you that after the meeting.
Where's she live?
And I talked to her a couple of months ago before my surgery and everything, and she wanted to get together with us and,
Mhm.
because I wanted to do another lake study. 'Cause one hasn't been done since 2014. And so she thought one was done in 2017, but you can't find any evidence of it, so it probably wasn't done. They probably started to put it together and they didn't finish it. So I'm kind of pushing for them to do it again. We need to know where we're at. I mean, we're definitely different when we're back to 2014. So anyway, piggybacking on Grant, I love the machine, by the way. This is why I don't like herbicides. I'm gonna read an article that was actually printed by Texas A&M. They did a pretty good study on herbicides and how it affects water. And just a short little article here, but it's, the question is, why do fish often die after herbicide treatments? Fish often die 2 to 5 days after herbicide treatment because of an oxygen depletion. The decomposing and rotting plants, actually the billions of bacteria and fungi consuming them, simply take up most of the available dissolved oxygen and the fish suffocate. This problem is the reason that most treatments recommend only applying the herbicide to 1/4 or less of the pond at a time and allowing 10 days between applications. The limited application area and extended time period allows the vegetation to rot without reducing dissolved oxygen concentrations. So it keeps it levels low, so it's not killing fish. You know, we got a fish population here, we have to consider too. I know y'all know that. Certain fish can deal with it. Perch seem to do okay in Cedar Park, but everything else has a hard time with the dissolved oxygen. They require more of it. But anyway, you know, just piggybacking off, that's why I like cultivating. I think it's a better way to go. I know we're trying to go down that route and can't wait till we can get to that point. I was kind of hoping to see it happen this year. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I wanted to read this article because when they came in and herbicided Bass Canal, there was a lot of weeds. This was in 2021. There was a lot of weeds in it. It was clear as a bell. Water was clear because the weeds were keeping it clean. But when it came through and herbicided it, they all turned brown and red and died. And before they herbicided, I was catching 2 or 3 bass a day. I didn't catch a fish for months afterwards. Either they left or they got killed or something happened. Not even any baby bass, nothing little. I got a fish trap. I couldn't trap anything. There was no fish around. So I know that does affect fish populations. So I just want to take care of them. I want to be able to have them there for everybody to enjoy, and that's why I moved here. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
One little side note is, if anybody talks to Fish and Game, ask who when they're gonna fix the Fish and Game regulations. So in one part, they will say they're okay to kill, take out a lake. Another part of the same regulations say they're protected.
You know, if you could give Grant that same contact information
Yeah.
that you're going to give to Phyllis, because Grant, you were out here, I believe, just right at or shortly after the first planting of the grass carp. And if you had that direct conversation with Fish and Wildlife, I think that would probably be much more beneficial than somebody else, you know.
I talked to them pretty in length.
I understand that, but I'm talking to Grant specifically because of his amount of years here
Mhm.
and everything that he has seen. And pretty smart guy, and he can articulate that, I think, very well to Fish and Wildlife, and maybe there's something. And who cares whether Fish and Wildlife hears from 50 people, right? Fish and Wildlife hears when people don't want to do any herbicides in waterways. They can hear when somebody has a problem with another program that people try to use to deal with these waterways. The other thing that I was going to say for both of you, since you guys both feel quite passionate about two different things that are used to treat aquatic weeds is you absolutely unequivocally, when we have this open forum for the city residents of the IAVMP, you have to be there. You just have to be there, right? And I'll get that out as soon as I possibly can, so you can get on your calendar. And you have to be able to articulate that so it can get into this final report. And Terry McNabb can figure out what, on his actual final report, the good, the bad, the ugly of all these different things. And just so you know, there is good, bad, and ugly on mechanical harvesting. Mechanical harvesting is not solely the best
I know.
thing everywhere.
I know there's nothing perfect.
Well, no, I don't think anything's perfect. As long as we all understand that, then nothing is really perfect for this, for aquatic weeds, right? I mean, aquatic weeds are nothing but a plant, right? Just like any other weed. Some people love all that crap in their garden, right? Other people don't, right? My wife's one who doesn't like one little itty bitty weed, right, Phyllis? Right? So, but I think some of the things that she pulls look nice, but whatever. So the point that I'm trying to make is it's great that you're here in an advisory board and in a meeting and being quite passionate about it. But you have to get that voice outside of just here. Because remember what our mission is here for this board is merely to advise the city on the maintenance and health of the fresh waterways. That's all we're to do, right? We don't really make any decisions. All we do is we come together, we listen to what residents have to say and make an as educated decision as we possibly can to make a recommendation to the city. And ultimately the city will do what they feel is in the right, you know, that's in the best for the fresh waterways or the storm drain utility system. Okay, so we're paying a lot of money for this IAVMP and we'll pay a whole bunch of money for a lake management study. And both of those need to hear exactly how passionate you guys are for both of these things. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Greg,
I'm good.
you don't have anything, Greg?
I have nothing.
Nada.
No,
How's your canal looking?
not bad.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of duckweed a few days ago, but it's the rain took that.
It seems to be moving its way around. It's now all around my dock. It's all around. I think my boats kind of keep it. I can-
They get washed off the shore when the rain. And it was really good to see water stone over the winter. Now it's a very welcome sight.
That was nice, wasn't it? Maria took a picture and I was gonna send it to everybody, but I figured everybody else had 2 eyes, so you guys could look at it yourself. Okay, so for my good of the order, what I wanted to say is a number one, welcome aboard to John Carn. I'm very, very glad to be back to 7 members. And the other thing that I wanted to say, I didn't know you were going to talk about what you were going to say, but one thing that I wanted to say is it's not just on Facebook. I have had over the course of 5 years, as you know, my wife and I own the Ocean Shores Boathouse. And over the course of 5 years, have had residents who have come to my place of business, not my home, but my place of business, when I am open and want to tell me how they feel on what the waterways, what we should do with the fresh waterways. And I have to tell you, I think that's pretty shitty. For a local business person to have to listen to that nonsense, right? That's just my opinion, and I'm sorry if that word offended anybody, but I can tell you over 5 years, I'm very offended that I'm sitting here trying to deal with customers, trying to make my business the best that it can be, and I get a resident who comes in and wants to argue with me in the middle of a non-resident, a tourist, who I'm trying to get out on a boat and go and have a good time. So for all these little meetings that people have in their home somewhere, and then they want to put that nonsense on Facebook, and it has to do with the fresh waterways, then what I'm saying, nice and loud to everybody, is come to this meeting and say it to us, so that we can sit here and we can have a conversation after the meeting, because the meeting is driven by an agenda. But I will have a conversation with you after that. And I honestly and truly have to make sure that everyone understands that we are not elected officials. The only person in this room that is an elected official is Eric Noble, right there, a council member, and you can contact him. He's the one who sits around there with all the other city council people and city employees who decide what is going to happen, when it's gonna happen, and how much money is given to this whole system, you know. And so if anyone has anything to say, Facebook or not, you have to come here and voice it, or you need to voice it to an elected official, okay? But going over to other people's homes or people's businesses, and speaking of business, John Barnes is the owner of the canoe rental, right? And so you shouldn't, nobody should be going to him and talking to him about, you know, the piss poor water quality or what's going on in the water or whatever. Okay, we don't need to hear that nonsense. Okay, it's on Zoom, it's official. All right, it is 3 p.m. and I adjourn this meeting. The next meeting is going to be held December 5th, 2022 at 2 p.m. at the library. Thank you all very much.